Hello and welcome to the guided assignment for Chapter 8. So what you see on your screen is the database that I've opened already and saved it down to my local hard drive. One of the first things we probably need to do is look and see what objects are available to us. We see we've got these tables, nothing else. We can click here or expand this out. Hit the drop down and see we've got all access objects, so that's there. We can go to database tools, we can see what our relationships are. And it looks like we've actually got 3 tables that are connected and another set of 3 tables that are connected. But we couldn't get from this customer over to any information that is in these tables without some kind of link. So we'll look at the different types of data that we have for fields that are in each one of these. So it looks like a customer places order data, an employee fills that order. Then we've got inventory and some kind of pattern and the manufacturer of that inventory. All right, so let me go ahead and close that. We can save that. And so we're ready to start in step 2. Step 2 says create a new field in the manufacturer table right after the RIMFG code named website with the hyperlink data type saved to the table. If you notice that when we downloaded all the tables or all the files used for this assignment, there was quite a few, and so we're going to be incorporating those into our database. And you might want to go back and look at the project description as well. That may help get you into the thought or mind frame of what we're trying to do here in terms of how the HR department manager wants to store photos and performance review in the database and all the different types of updates that we need to do to this database and all the different types of data that we can import into this database. All right, so we're going to need to open the manufacturer table. We're going to need to go into design view, and everybody has a preference on how they get to design view. Some of you may prefer just to click up here and click design view from this view tab or icon, I should, under views. So we've got the RIMFG code, and we need to create a data type or a field name called website, and the data type is going to be a hyperlink. Okay, so it might help you to also look and see what are your general pieces of information that you can set on that in terms of format, caption, so on. And we're not going to do a lookup table. So we'll save that. And all I'm doing is doing a right click, or I can hit this on my quick access toolbar, and we'll close it. Step 2 says switch to datasheet view and add the website to the Linux China record. So we shouldn't have closed it. We can get into the datasheet view, which is what you see on the screen. And we've got record 7. So we can go to record 7, or we can just go down through here and look at it. So there's the Linux China record. And under website, we're going to put in http:// just make sure you spell it correctly. And I'm going to hit tab to tab off of that just to make sure it's saved. Notice how it turned into a link for us. And so now we should be able to click on that, and that would take us to that site if it was there, and we don't have to go in and watch it. All right. Then it says step 4, add the link to the Waterford for question 14. So I can scroll down here to that question, but record 14. There's record 14, so I'll go ahead and add that link. It then says click each link to make sure it launches a browser and locates the appropriate site. So there's the Linux Corporation. It's not doing a good job of showing that in my browser. But there's the Waterford one, which is doing a nice one. So the links work, so I'll go ahead and save the table. Then step 5 says create, and we need to close the table, I'm sorry. Step 5 says create a new field in the employees table after hire date named files with the attachment data type. Save the table. All right, to do that, you need to be in Design View, and we need to go to after hire date. So there's nothing there, so we're ready to do that. We're going to do files, and it's going to be an attachment type, and that'll allow us to put other files within the database in that field. We need to save this. Do a right-click save. Step 6 says switch to datasheet view and use the find command to locate the record for user ID 822680. So we'll go to datasheet view, and here's the search command. We could type it in there, or we could hit this find button here. We'll hit that. What do we want to find? We want to find 822680. Didn't like that. But if I click the user ID, which is the column we need to look in, it then finds it. So we found that here. Get out of there. And it wants us to add the downloaded Word document and the picture file named to the files field. So I double click this field and it opened up this dialog box. I'll then hit the add button and find where I save these files. So the first thing I want to find is this document. So that's a Word document. Click open, so it added that one. I will then find the next item, which is a JPEG, and I'll hit open. And I'll click OK. And so you can see it's added 2 files to this record here in that field. So using a database makes it easier to add all kinds of data types in there that you want to track. Step 7 wants us to create a form based on the employees table that will open in layout view. Delete the subform. Okay. So the first thing we need to do is highlight the table that we want to create the form on. So that's going to be employees. Then we click create, and we're going to do a form. And we need to make sure the form is in layout view, and it wants us to delete the subform. So we highlight that. I don't want to delete a record. I just want to click the box and hit delete. it wants us to navigate to that record 822680, and you'll notice that that is now on the screen along with the other information. And it wants us to use the attachments toolbar to display the Word document and the picture file. If you noticed anything, there was nothing listed in this particular box. So what I did is I went back to employees and I hit the save button. And so now there is an indication that there is something in the box. And so you can see there's the image, there's the Word document. And so you make sure you always save and make sure you always check to make sure your work is doing exactly as you intended to do. So from here, you can actually do a right click. You can see manage attachments. I can view that attachment. It's going to open up Word. And I can show you that here, the Word document it just opened. I will then close that down. I can click on that and hit view, and it opened it up in my picture viewer, photo viewer. Close that down. I will cancel. I probably should have hit save, but that's fine. It's opened up and seen it. And now it says save the form as employees. Okay, so I hit save. It's going to give me the form name employees. And then it says close the form and the table. So I'm going to close that. I'm going to also close that. Continuing on with step 8, it says use the filter by selection to display records in the inventory table where category equals crystal. So you open up the inventory table, and then here's the selection. You need to select an item that you want to filter by. So we need to select crystal, and so that's where the category, so we need to look in the category. We'll click that, and now we can select, then it says equals crystal. So now everything you see here, only thing records displayed is crystal. Next, it wants you to filter the records further to display crystal where the OH category value equals 0. So we're going to select a 0 there. And it says there's only 3 records that will display, so it looks like we've done it right. Export the filtered records to an Excel file. Save the file as the name listed in your instructions, and then do not save the export steps. Once we do that, close the inventory table without saving the changes. So what you'll need to do is click on the external data here, and then click the Excel. Notice that we're in the export group, so we want to export this as Excel. So we're going to select that. So that opens up a little wizard for us to use. So instead of naming it inventory.xlsx, we're going to name it what the directions wanted us to name it. So I'm going to hit paste, and so that's what it is. We're going to save it as an Excel workbook, and we're going to export data with formatting and layout. Let me just double check and make sure that's what it wants us to do. Click OK. We do not want to save these export steps, but if this is something that you did on a regular basis, then you'd probably want to save the steps so it could just be automated. So we'll close, and then it says close the inventory table without saving the changes. So we'll hit close, and we'll hit no. Step 9 wants us to create a link table in the database by importing the workbook named A08C1 customers. Use the first row of the customer worksheet as column headings and accept all other default options. So here we're going to click on, in the import area, Excel again. And the file we want to link to, so we're going to browse. Here I found my file, so I'll click open. And we're not going to import it into a new table. We're not going to add it to an existing table. That's what the append command is for. We are going to link to the data source by creating a link table. We'll click OK. So it's got different worksheets there. So use the first row of the customer 1 worksheet as column headings. So we like that. First row contains column headings, so that's going to be your field names. And it wants us to accept all other default options, so we'll click Next. And we'll leave this name here in the link table. We'll hit Finish. Notice here it's got a new ID here. Click OK. And so now we're linked to that table. If we were to make changes to that table, then whatever we've done inside this database will reflect those changes. Step 10 wants us to create a link table in the database by importing the customer 2 table from a database named A08C1 customers. And so what we can do is the same sort of operation again. So we're going to create a link table. So what we need to do is we're going to import, except this time we're going to be importing it from a database. Let me get out of this. This is coming from an Access database. So instead of Excel, we need to click this Access link. And then we need to find where we're at. And here is that database. Click Open. Once we do that, it says it wants a link to the data source by creating a link table. So we're going to click this option. We could import any of these other objects from that database into this database. So sometimes if I need to combine things out of multiple databases, I might use this option in order to do that within Access. Right now we're just following the link here, so we're going to click OK. There's customer 2. That seems to be the only table listed, but we'll click OK. And so you can click there and see now that's a link to that particular database, and we've imported that data in. Any changes in that other database will be reflected when we open this table up. Close that because we didn't make any changes. So that takes care of step 10. Step 11 is create a table in the database by importing the text file named A08C1 text.ust.csv. Use the first row of the file as field names. Customer number as a primary key, and name the table customers space text. Accept all the default options. So again, we're going to import the text file. So we're in the import area. We're going to do text file here. We need to browse for that. So here's the name of that text file. It's in comma separated values. That's what CSV stands for. So I'll click Open. And we are going to create a table in the database. So import the source data into a new table in the current database. That's what we want. We'll click OK. Delimited means what are the different fields and the data separated by in your file. In this case, it looks like everything's separated by a comma, so it is delimited. If we knew the exact space that was allocated for each field, we could use fixed width, but this isn't a fixed width CSV file. So we're going to do delimited, click next. Comma looks like it. It shows you what the potential separation would be if it were to create the operation. So it's selected comma. Notice we also need to set first row contains field names. And the last thing we need to do is going to say, what do we want to set as the primary key? So field operations, we'll do that, that's fine. You can actually set your own primary key. So we're going to set that as customer number as the primary key out of this table. And then what do we want to call this new table? We want to call it customers space text. And I'll click finish. We don't want to save that, so I hit close. Notice it created that new table for me. It has all the information in there. And so that's how you can actually import data that's in a comma delimited format or CSV file. And that ends this guided assignment. We are now ready to close it and submit it.